Hey everybody. This is going to be some information on 4.1.4.2 from your textbook. Graphing and talking about zeros with quadratics. And we're going to start to work with quadratics now, which is different than all the lines you were working with. So one of the features of quadratics is that we're dealing with exponents with a 2 as your exponent for squareds. You'll deal with higher level exponents next year. And so that when we graph them, the shape is not a line, it's a parabola, it's a curve. So we're going to work on what a graph looks like and how to deal with the quadratic function today. All right. So again, you're going to watch this. You're hopefully watching it before class later in the week, and then you'll do a work session in class related to this. This is on video. You can go back and watch this as much as you want to go back and see anything. There's also some of these notes are in the textbook about some of the important features of this. All right, so first of all, a quadratic function is going to be in this form, this standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c. The a, b, and c are important, and you're going to see shortly a strategy that I teach that will help you each time as we go to solve them. So they should always be in this form. And if they're not, readjust the equation so that it is. So the example we're going to work on today is the function is x squared plus 3x plus 2. And so what I have students do is identify the a and the b and the c right away before they even dive into the problem. So in this case, a is 1 because there's nothing before the x squared. It's not 0, it's 1. B is 3, and C is 2. So that's always a good way to start identifying these as we're working through. It's going to help you as you get into quadratic equation later in the chapter. Okay, so what we're doing here is graphing. And so you have to choose some possible x coordinates, substitute them in, do the math, and then come up with the y. And so when you're doing this, I always teach for my students kind of start at -2 and go to 2. That may not always work. We're not dealing with just lines anymore. So you're going to see some things that could happen. So you've got to be flexible in this situation. So if x is -2, y is going to be 0. And so one of the tips I want you to remember is -2 squared is 4. If you plug -2 in here, you will get 4 plus -6x, which is -2. -2 plus 2 is 0. And I'm not going to go through all the math to get you through here. I've done that already. I would expect you to then pick them and go through. Okay? So once you've done this, here is the graph of those points. And I've created 5 points here. Here's -2, 0, -1, 0, 0, 2, 1, 6, and then 2, 12 is hiding up there. And so that's your parabola, except that here's the next information you might want to know. You may need to add x coordinates into your table to maybe start to complete this graph. So this is where you need to be a little flexible. If you don't have a parabola, and you can't visually see your parabola, then you've got to go back in and maybe do something like this. Do -3. And when you do -3, your result will be a +2. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, oops, 1, 2 right there. And now you can start to see the parabola will go kind of down here. It will go kind of down here. Question is, where's the vertex? And the vertex is your maximum or minimum point. Maximum or minimum point. Did I say that right? Stop laughing. Visually, for a negative parabola, it would be here. For a positive parabola, it's going to be down here as our minimum point. So one of the things that you have to, and you will be needing to do as part of this, is to substitute in A, B, and C to this little formula here, and this will give you the x coordinate. So substitute in, and it's negative b over 2a. That will give you your x coordinate. So b is 3, a is 1, and then we multiply a by 2. So you will get negative 3/2, and that's our x coordinate, which is right here. And I'm putting that line on the graph, which is called your line of symmetry. And that's going to be at negative 1 1/2, which on your graph is right here. You probably could have figured that out based upon these 2 points right here, but here is the math that will show you this. So that's your x coordinate. How do you figure out what the y coordinate is? Take it and plug it back into the equation. And I know that messing around with decimals and fractions aren't the easiest thing to deal with. When you do the math, you will get negative 1/4. That'll be your y coordinate. I'm giving you the fractions here to make it a little bit more difficult to show that it might come out that way. So then plot this point, negative 3/2, negative 1/4. That's going to be right there. And so our parabola has a vertex right there. This is your line of symmetry. So one of the things you're going to do as part of your bookwork that you do is identify the y-intercept. Let's go back to lines. The y-intercept is when x is 0. And in this case, it's 2. So the y-intercept is 2. The equation of the axis of symmetry, something that's going to become a little more familiar now we're doing quadratics. X is negative 3/2. It's negative 3/2 right there. That's our line of symmetry on the graph. Our x coordinate is the other thing that we want to know, which is the same as the line of symmetry. These two will be the same, and that's there. Okay? So, that covers the basics on the quadratic piece. So at any point, you can pause the video, take down any of the notes that you see. You can go back and check anything. If I wasn't real clear or you missed something about vertex, go back and kind of look through it again. Use your book as a reference as well as to what that is. Now, when we go to 4-2, it's solving. What if I had given you this equation? This quadratic equation, I said solve it. Tell me what your answers for x are. Well, if this equation equals 0, which is what we always want to get, we want to get our quadratic equation equal to 0. Because let's plan this out a little bit. If y is 0, then what are our x's going to be? Okay, so at this point I'm going to stop. I have a second video that I'm going to post shortly as well. That's going to go a little bit more into finding 0. So this is going to be a 2-part one. All right, so this kind of starts it, and then you pick up on the next one.